SHEM Ministries, souls honoring Elohim's mandate. And now for today's message.
Well, hello. Welcome to SHEM Ministries. That is Souls Honoring Elohim's Mandate. And for some reason tonight, sometimes we use a platform called Switcher, and I don't understand why, but sometimes they'll change their platform and they don't tell you. So it's kind of like we change it, you don't know I changed it, and then you have to figure it out. So I had an encounter where it didn't just quite start out like it normally does, but guess what? You can't keep God's message from going forth, okay? So tonight is our SHEM 2 night, and that is our Spiritual Healthy Enlightening Mandate Ministry. And I do thank you. I am so excited that this is not a pre-recorded broadcast, even though the last 3 weeks were, you can't reinvent the wheel, okay? Good information from last year that was so good, there was just no way to reinvent it. So I pray that you enjoyed it. And we talked about heart disease in the African American woman. Tonight, we are going to talk about something that many people know about. And the reason why I say many people is because it pertains to people who actually have a diagnosis of diabetes. However, you do not have to be diabetic to have a need to know how to regulate your blood sugars. No. Your body cannot store glucose. And the same things that a diabetic person has to learn, a pre-diabetic person needs to know, as well as a normal lay person when it comes down to keeping your blood sugars regulated. Why? Your body needs glucose to function. And having a normal glucose level keeps you functioning normally. The only difference between a person who's diabetic and someone who is not diabetic is insulin production. That's it. We are the same. If you're diabetic, you're just like the next person. It's just that your pancreas does not produce enough insulin, or there's insulin resistance, or, there's a reason that the insulin, which is a transport mechanism like a bus, and the blood sugar, the glucose molecules are the people on the bus. So the bus takes the people on the bus into the body to use it as energy. There's not enough buses, and there's too many people just running around everywhere. That's the difference between the diabetic and the non-diabetic. They do not have the transport mechanism, such as the bus, to ride in to get to their destination, into the body, into the tissue, cells, organs, to give them the energy that is necessary for them to function properly. So this information that we are presenting tonight is not just for people who are diabetic. Okay? All right. So, and now that I already said that, regulating my sugar. I started to say sugar because that's how your sugar doing? You doing all right? Are you talking about something sweet, or you talking about your sweetie pie, your sugar? Okay? That's what we're talking about tonight. The things that you don't need to know. These are things you must know and understand for us to function properly. Right now, we're going to have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, we praise you, we glorify your name. Lord, we know that there's an appointed time and a season for everything. And my God, when you said to me, now's the time to teach and re-educate, teach those who think they know it all, that they really don't know it all. It's not knowing, it's understanding how they relate to one another. We need to make this thing plain and clear, because we do not realize that by the time you have, if you're borderline diabetic, by the time you actually get a diagnosis of diabetes, they say that you have already been diabetic 5 years unknowingly. And the potential damage that could be done has already been done. So, Father, we thank you. We praise you, Lord. We ask that this information be received and, Lord, utilized for life, health, strength in your people, that they will take it and use it for themselves individually, to better themselves, to live a more prosperous life. In Jesus' name we pray, amen, amen. Okay, so as I said, you do not have to be diabetic to understand the importance of regulating your blood sugar. Let me say this about your brain. Your brain cannot store sugar, glucose. So one of the first things that happens to us when we haven't eaten, we can't think, we can't concentrate, we're not as productive as we usually are. You're on your job and your caboose is not really moving because you have no sugar in your body. Now, so much I want to say, and I'm saying, Lord, you help me say it the way you need me to say it. First thing I do want to say, I always use myself as an example, and I disclose information about me because I don't want you to think that, okay, first of all, girl, look at you. Look how tiny you are. And by no means do I feel that I'm tiny, but I hear it said so much. Even my own mama gets on me, okay? So clearly there must be a tininess. I know I got a little head because she always calls me little head, but clearly don't let this size fool you, is what I'm trying to get at. I found out years ago, and it's because, you know, my mom, my dad, my grandmas, there was so much diabetes in my family. And I was very aggressive in identifying pre-diabetes. I'm going to make it short because I got a lot to cover. And so I had more weight on me than I do now. I actually probably had about 75 to 100 pounds more. Yep, I sure did. It is what it is, okay? And over the last 10 years or so, I lost that weight and kept it off. And I have been working hard to maintain and manage my blood sugars. And therefore, I'm telling you something that I am steadily trying to, I know, I understand, but sometimes we have to go the extra to have an even greater understanding. In order for you to teach someone else, you really have to know. And where I'm at right now is I am trying to identify exactly how much of something I can eat that will keep me in a safe zone. Now, for me, I desire 60 to 180, okay? And we do anticipate that our blood sugars will elevate when we eat. That's a given. Within 2 hours of eating, it's normal for your blood sugar to go up. But idealistically, now, this ain't no ideal world, okay? You have what's good for you. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that because the treatment plan for each person has to be individualized. For me personally, I said I don't want to drop lower than 60. And even with eating, I do not want my blood sugar to go above 180, 200 max. And what you'll know about the eating, even though your blood sugar may go up within 2 hours of eating, it should not stay there. It should start to come back down. And we're going to talk about treatment of hyperglycemia. We're going to talk about hypoglycemia. And we're going to talk about not over treating elevated blood sugars. Okay. And that is pretty much in people who are diabetic that check their blood sugars. But the average person population, you may have to utilize how you feel. And like, when's the last time you ate? And there I go. I can preach to myself because sometimes I forget. I'm like, when did you eat? And you know, it's because I work at night, I sleep during the day, I get up and I run errands, I don't feel hungry, and then all of a sudden I feel like I'm gonna crash. And so I have to be mindful of that as well, because if I don't have healthy food with me, because I'm starting to feel bad, I'm tempted to get something fast food, which is definitely not healthy. So we're going to actually talk about, we're going to start, I just want to give you a little intro talking about me, but we're going to start out talking about glycemic index. Yep. Because I want you to learn that and understand that certain foods are better to eat to keep your blood sugar from spiking really high. And there's a misnomer about certain foods. Okay, so I have I've got some information here I want to read to you, and this actually came from the Mayo Clinic, because you know I do try to get evidence-based information that's reputable. I'm not going to tell you something that has not been peer-reviewed, okay? And so I want to read something to you, and then I'm going to show you some slides, a bunch of slides I've got for you, okay? So glycemic index, and it's going to be on, let me, maybe I could go ahead and pull that slide up. Let's see. Now, I know you're not going to be able to, this is small writing, but what I did was I took these slides and I enlarged them, like segments of them. But this is the whole entire slide. I know you can't read that, but low glycemic index food list. The lower the glycemic index, the better the food choice is for you. And this actually breaks it down into low, moderate, and high glycemic index foods. Okay, so now I'm going to leave this up and I'm going to explain to you about glycemic index. So, the glycemic index is actually just a tool that can be used to help people better understand and plan your food choices. It doesn't say anything about the size, how many to eat, whatever. I just need you to know what foods are listed under low glycemic index. And ideally, they are the better choice to eat. If you are going to eat something, it is best to choose a low glycemic index food. If you do not have low, then of course, the next best choice would be the medium or the moderate. And of course, quite naturally, the worst to eat would be the high glycemic index. And if you can see, most fast food is high glycemic index, okay? That's why the goal is not to eat out, all right? Now, so like I said, this is just a tool of knowing the choices, the better choice. You go to a buffet and there's a choice between, let's use an example of bread, right? So there's wheat bread, white bread, and then there's brown bread with flaxseed and oats, okay? Which one you think would be better? All right, just, we'll look at this a little bit closer, but it's just to help you make choices. But also understand that there can be a learning curve to understand what exactly glycemic index means. But anything that says think glucose, okay? Its benefits and its limits and who the index could potentially benefit, okay? So every time you eat, you set off a cascade of digestive processes in your body. One effect is an increase in blood sugar known as glucose, okay? So after we eat, the glucose concentrations in the blood go up, like I told you, and then they come down. Now, please listen to this and understand. The higher you go up, the harder you fall. Okay? It's kind of like you climbing up a ladder. The higher you go up the ladder, the harder you're going to hit the ground if you fall. Okay? So, a person who says, my blood sugars are 40, 50 in the mornings. Well, my first question is, what did you eat before you went to bed? Don't blame it on your medication all the time. It could be a combination of you didn't eat enough for the insulin if you're on insulin, or you ate too much and didn't take enough insulin, or you forgot to take your insulin and ate, okay? It's multifactorial, and that's the reason why you have to, I strongly recommend taking advantage of a dietitian or a coach, okay? Someone that can help coach you in understanding what you're doing wrong. And a lot of that, believe it or not, the glycemic index has a lot to do with it. The recommendations in regards to the food, but the dietitian will also tell you portion size, and we're going to talk a little bit about portion size. Okay, so the glycemic index measures how a certain food impacts the blood sugar over a certain time period. Foods on the lower end of the scale will raise blood sugar less over that period, while foods that rank higher raise blood sugar more. Only foods that contain carbohydrates can rank on the scale. So, meat, if vegetables that are not starchy vegetables that have no carbs, they do not have a glycemic index. Okay? Get that. Understand that. That's why most diets will say, well, string beans are a freebie, right? Eat all the string beans you want, as long as you didn't, dip them in honey. Okay? All right. So this is based on carbohydrates. A low carb or carb-free food like meat is not measured on glycemic index. It's important to note that the scale is comparative. Researchers compare a certain food against the effect of a standardized food like sugar or white bread. Okay, so how they calculate the glycemic index of the food is based on a standardized test against things like sugar and bread. Okay, all right, so for example, here's a good example. Researchers measure changes in your blood glucose over a 2-hour period after participants eat 50 grams of sugar. They also measure the blood glucose over a 2-hour period after you eat 50 grams of a banana. The glycemic index is a ratio of these two measures. The standard food in this case is given a score of 100. For example, the sugar. And the banana is given a glycemic index score of about 50. So, long story short, bananas are healthier than eating sugar, okay? So if your blood sugar is dropping or you are going out somewhere, put a banana in your pocket and take it with you. It's the safest thing for you to eat until you can get back home and get a meal. I'm telling you the truth, okay? Think about it. All right. So the banana has a glycemic index about 50. Now, one thing I do want to tell you that I found out in my research about bananas, the riper the banana is, the higher the glycemic index of the banana is. And also, of course, we take into consideration, we're talking about an average size banana. I'm not talking about those genetically modified bananas that are big as your elbow. Okay? All right. So, but the banana will raise your blood sugar about half as much as sugar does in a 2-hour period. Is that not good to know? Because, let me say this. I hope you understand, if you don't understand, about hemoglobin A1C. Now, we've talked about a lot of this stuff before, so I didn't want to kind of go back to kindergarten. Hemoglobin A1C is an average blood sugar reading 3 to 4 months. And the way we calculate it is the glucose molecule, let's say not ride the bus of the hemoglobin molecule, but they piggyback on top of the hemoglobin. So the lifespan of a red blood cell, the hemoglobin molecule, right? The red blood cell is about 3 to 4 months. So that is how they measure the hemoglobin A1C based on its in relationship to the red blood cell and the hemoglobin molecule. Okay? So what raises your hemoglobin A1C the most is a spike in your blood sugar. So the more spikes you have in your blood sugar, the higher that, because remember now, average. What is an average? We learned that in school. You take the numbers, you multiply them by how many you have, and you take all your numbers, you add them up, and you divide them by the number that you have, and that's how you get the average. So if the hemoglobin A1C is an average, it depends on how many elevated readings, spikes you have. And the thing about it is people don't continuously check their blood sugar. So, but if you watched your blood sugar 24/7 and you noticed that it was over 250, 300 is actually a really number that we use to say hyperglycemia when you're 300 and above, okay? In a diabetic now. I'm not talking about non-diabetic person. We look at that, how many of those 300 blood sugars did you have over that period of time, and divide it by how many, and we calculate a percentage. That's that 6% A1C, 7% A1C. Percentages, remember, 100%, right? Divided by the amount. All right, so that's enough of the math class for tonight, okay? All right, so on the glycemic index scale, foods are generally ranked as low, which is, and now that I showed you the big scale, let's go to where I have the low scale. I made it bigger. This is low. So they're ranked as low when they're 0 to 55. Medium would be 56 to 69, and high is 70 and above. So foods with a high glycemic index are easy for the body to digest and absorb. Think about it. How many people say, let's not think about how many people say, because I'm going to tell you, it's easy to eat a bag of potato chips. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And sometimes, many times, people will say, I'm going to eat this because it's so easy for me to eat it and digest it. And guess what it will do? It will get your sugar up quick. But is it going to hurt you more than help you? Yeah. So I'm trying to get you to understand or see some things that you can pick and choose that will get your blood sugar up. And that's the reason why I said the banana, unless you're allergic to bananas, right? And so here, let's look at this list here. The non-starchy vegetables are good. The cabbage, the broccoli, cucumbers, eggplant, greens, lettuce, mushrooms, peppers, tomatoes, okras, onions, spinach, squash, zucchini, turnips. Now, as far as the grains, wild rice, wheat tortilla, wheat pasta, rye, barley, and I don't know what bulgur is. I'm sure it's a type of grain because it's listed under grains. Nuts, olives, and oils. Now, if you know much about a Mediterranean diet, just about everything I'm telling you is on low glycemic index is the Mediterranean diet. So we got almonds, peanuts, pecans, sunflower seeds, hazelnuts, olives, walnuts, oils that are liquid at room temperature. no Crisco, no lard. Okay? All right. Now, dairy. You got your dairy, fish, meat, soy, and eggs. Of course, it's skim milk, soy milk, almond milk, low-fat cheese, yogurt, lean red meat, fish, skinless chicken and turkey, shellfish, egg whites, egg yolks. But guess how many you can only have a week? 3. I blew that out of the water. Because I don't do them like I used to, but I used to eat 2 boiled eggs and 2 pieces of wheat toast on my way out the door to work every morning. I used to, long time ago. We all got our weaknesses. I'm just telling you, okay? Now, in the additional low glycemic foods we're talking about breakfast cereals. There's the All Brand, Fiber One, Oat Bran, oatmeal, not the instant, the real oatmeal that you have to cook, okay? Look at the fruits and fruit juices. But guess what it says? Only 1 to 2 fruits a day. So if you are a person who's using juice, when your blood sugar drops, you're actually hurting yourself more than helping yourself because of all the blood sugar spikes. So what am I telling you to do? I'm telling you to take the time and figure out low glycemic index foods that you can keep and eat. For example, have you ever just ate cereal without milk? Yeah, I have. I sure have. I have had, look, the corn flakes that are the ones that have the wheat in them, okay? You can just eat a handful of them, right? And a little small piece of banana. Keep your blood sugar up so that it won't drop that low. All right? Blackberries, apple juice, cherries, blueberries, cranberries, peaches, plums, all of that stuff. I'm not going to go through them all, but you see what they are. Beans and legumes, black-eyed peas, butter beans, chickpeas, which is hummus, right? You look down there at the bottom, it's hummus. Green beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, lentils, lima beans, navy beans, and snow peas. These are low glycemic index foods. The goal tonight is for you to understand what low glycemic is, okay? Now, before I move on to the medium, I want to show you something. Now, this is something I recently started eating, because I noticed a trend that my hemoglobin A1C, even though it's still pre-diabetic state, it still was going up some, okay? And I don't want that. I do not want that. So I started buying this here. Now, you don't have to eat what I eat, but it tasted pretty good, and I found it, and it's called Joseph's Flax, Oat Bran, and Whole Wheat Pita Bread. It's really, really thin. It's very high in omega-3, which is good. It's a good source of omega-3 fish oil. And when you flip it on the back side, check this out. Look at the fact that that whole pita. Now, what I do is I cut the pita in half. I open up the pouches and I stick me some meat and whatever, lettuce, whatever, tomato, whatever in it, and eat it like a pita sandwich. It's delicious. The whole entire pita is only 60 calories. Yep. It's only 60 calories, has no saturated or trans fats. It has no cholesterol. It only has 270 milligrams of salt. Now, this is the good thing. Look at it. It's got 6 grams of protein, so it's healthy. The other thing, it has 0 sugars. What did I just tell you about sugar? Okay? Now, if you look in the red, some people count carbs. You can do calories or carbs. Or what I do is I try to be mindful of 3 things. First of all, I make sure it doesn't have any trans or saturated fat. Or, I try to make sure it definitely has no trans fat. Secondly, I look at the sodium. How much salt does it have? And I've told you this before because I'm trying to make sure I don't have high blood pressure. And so the sodium in a normal, regular diet should not exceed 4,000 milligrams or 4 grams in a day. In a day now, 24 hours. A low salt diet is 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams a day. So this right here has 270, which is good, okay? And in order to, I know I've gone through this before, but I wanted to talk to you about carb counting. The more fiber in what you eat, the higher the fiber, the less carbs. Now look at, they're doing it for you. I don't even have to explain it. Look in the red there, where it tells you that the 9 total carbs subtracted by the fiber, you only have 7 net carbs. So if you're carb counting, right, that would be great for you. So I just want to show you an example, because where we mess up the most, and I'm just going to tell you the truth, is white rice, white bread, and white potatoes, okay? Processed foods like quick oats or pretzels. And my husband will tell you, I stopped buying all them bagels. I used to love me a little bagel sandwich. I had to quit, cut it out, stop it. So I use my 45 calorie bread. 1 slice is 45 calories. And I can get 90 calories for 2. So look at this, pita's only 60. You see what I'm saying? You got to have your options. All right. And so that is an example. All right. But I also want you to know that low glycemic index foods do take longer for the body to digest and cause a slower, more gradual rise in blood sugar. So it will actually get okay, let me say this. If you're symptomatic, I do understand a person may quickly try to get their blood sugar up and just drink a little orange juice or apple juice. I get that. Where we go wrong is we drink 8 ounces versus 4 ounces, right? And I'm going to show you the serving. So let me, I tell you what, let me go to that next, and then we'll go to the moderate and the high glycemic index food. So yeah, since we're flowing in that direction, let's talk about hypoglycemia. All right. Wait, nope, that's not the one I want. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, what to do if you experience hypoglycemia? And I've got that broken down into 2 parts, which is also called low blood sugar. Hypoglycemia or low blood sugar can cause you to feel shaky, sweaty, dizzy, lightheaded, hungry, anxious, irritable, confused, sleepy, and a general feeling of not feeling right, among other less common symptoms. Now, remember what I said. You don't have to be diabetic to feel hypoglycemic or to have that feeling. That can happen because you exercised a lot and didn't eat, or you burn off too many calories and didn't get enough sugar, glucose, because your muscles are burning energy. So you have to do things appropriately. But hypoglycemia means a blood glucose reading less than 70. But some people may develop symptoms with higher numbers. You know why? Because if your body is used to living with 100 as your lowest blood sugar, anything under 100, you're going to feel symptomatic. And me personally, I don't feel symptomatic until I'm less than 60. And I want to keep it that way. So anyway, we do what we got to do. So what might cause hypoglycemia? Common causes are missed meals. Like I said, did I eat? Eating fewer calories, an increase in physical activity, like I just said, or exercise, and certain medications. Okay? So understand that. And then this is what we're going to do about it. If you suspect that you might be experiencing hypoglycemia, you should do the following. It's called the rule of 15. Step number 1, check your blood glucose if you can now. If you're not diabetic or you have no way of checking your blood sugar, just assume by the way you feel that it's a little low. And what you do is, in order to prevent overtreating, you gotta be able to wait 15 minutes. What you're gonna do, if your blood sugar is below 70 or you have symptoms, eat or drink 15 grams of carbohydrates. Okay? Remember what I said that bread was? That bread is only 7 for the whole thing. So if you're going to get 15, you got to know what 15 grams is. So guess what I got up here? I got examples of what 15 grams are. This is the thing that I really, 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 really need you to remember. Because if you only do 15 grams, you will not overtreat your low. Then you end up high. And then what did I tell you? The higher you climb, the harder you fall. You can't win for losing if you do not understand how to regulate your sugar. So, if you have the glucose tablets, chew 3 to 4. That's 15 grams. Or the little glucose gel. Most of them are one standard 15 grams. And that whole little gel thing is 15 grams. It's one serving. One serving of glucose gel is 15 grams. Remember the rule of 15. And those of you who have family that may be diabetic, or you know someone, there's so many people walking around here who are going to be diagnosed diabetic tomorrow and didn't even know it until they have a hypo or a hyperglycemic event. And that's when they find out. Or they may have a hypoglycemic event because there's something wrong in their body. Right? Okay. The other is a cup of skim milk, which is 8 ounces. Now, this is what you got to know. 8 ounces of skim milk is equivalent to 4 ounces of fruit juice. So if you drink the 8 ounces of juice, you have overcorrected your blood sugar. It's on paper right here. And it's actually a half a cup, which is 4 ounces. So you drink half the juice, right? Go or start preparing you something to eat because you want to have some protein to keep the blood sugar up once it starts to come up. And by the time you do that, there's your 15 minutes. So 15 grams, 15 minutes. A tablespoon of sugar or 5 small sugar cubes. Nobody really likes to just eat a tablespoon of sugar, but if you have to, make some sugar water, okay, and drink it. Or a tablespoon of honey or syrup. Yep, you can do that if you have to. 1 serving of the glucose gel, like I said earlier, the amount is equal to 15 grams of carbs. That's what I told you. If you cannot check your blood glucose right away, eat or drink 15 grams of carbs just to be safe. Step number 2, wait 15 minutes. And this is very important. It takes 15 minutes to feel better. You gotta understand, I just drank it, I ain't feeling good. Did you relax? Takes 15 minutes to feel better. No matter how much carbs you use to treat the low blood glucose, it's still gonna take 15 minutes. All right, now, then let's go to step number 3. Check your blood glucose again. If your blood sugar is still low, or if you still have symptoms, eat or drink another 15 grams, but not until after you waited 15 minutes to give yourself time to adjust, okay? You repeat steps 1 to 3 until your blood glucose level is 70 or above and your symptoms have gone away. If you still have low blood glucose after 2 checks, you're supposed to call 911. Or definitely get someone to help you. Okay, 911, I'm not going to say. If you're not by yourself and you're awake and alert and someone can help you, I am not going to tell every person to call 911 after they checked it twice. But as long as you see it coming up and you're feeling better, okay, that's medically legally, I'm going to tell you to call 911 because not knowing if you're sick or not knowing if you took too much insulin or made a mistake, you drew it up wrong, you took it, forgot you took it, and took it again. Okay, all right. So there we go. And low blood sugars, okay, is usually very low blood sugars, less than 55. And we definitely don't want that. That you definitely need EMS services there. And this is, we're talking about hyperglycemia here. I'm sorry. That other slide, it says, if you experience hypoglycemia more often than twice a week, or if you have very low blood sugar, less than 55, you really need to seek medical care ASAP. Now, I 100% agree with that. Okay? All right. What to do if you experience hyperglycemia. Now, if you're diabetic and you have medication and your endocrinologist or your primary care provider has told you what to do, do it. Okay? All right? But one thing I will tell you to do, drink water. Water. Hydration, dehydration occurs, and it'll also dilute the blood sugar. Okay? I'm just telling you. Now, there is the medium, and then there's the high. Let me just quickly go through a few of the moderate GI foods. Glycemic index. Special K, what? Yeah. Brand checks, what? These are medium, not low. Okay? Fruits. Underripe banana. Moderate. Figs, moderate. Grapes, kiwi, mango, raisins, and oranges, cranberry juice, orange juice. These are moderate, but sometimes you have to do the moderate, okay? You have to do low and moderate. Just avoid the high. Vegetables, beets, carrots, sweet potato, yam, corn on the cob. Now, all this stuff just is my whatever. But what you have to do is don't eat them all in the same day, or, and eat them, balance them out. So, for example, I'm going to get me a couple pieces of corn on the cob. I guess I just won't do no potatoes. Okay? Oh, Lord, help me. I'm not going to tell you I don't struggle. I struggle too. Okay, the wheat bread, rye bread, high fiber bread, believe it or not, is moderate. But don't forget to subtract the carbs, the fiber from your carbs, and get your net carbs. All right. Then you got your grains, your cornmeal, brown and white rice, and couscous. Okay. Those are moderate. Pasta, macaroni, ravioli, meat filled, pizza with cheese pizza now, spaghetti, white spaghetti. These are moderate. Cashews and macadamians are moderate. Chocolate, muffins, low-fat ice cream, and popcorn snacks are moderate glycemic index, okay? All right, now let's go to high and talk about what's considered high. And I love Cheerio. I love grits. Oh my goodness, grits. Raisin bran. Cream of wheat. High glycemic index. Corn flakes. High glycemic index, right? I didn't say you can't eat these things. Eat them in moderation and don't eat them every day. Okay? All right. And I did not tell you portion size. Look at the portion size. Okay? Small bowl of cream of wheat. Did not say portion size. Dried dates, pineapple, overripe bananas have a higher glycemic index. They do. They sure do. Watermelon. And didn't say nothing about whether it was sweet or not. Watermelon is high glycemic index. You can taste the sweetness. Beverages, soda, sweet tea, pineapple juice. So it's better to drink apple juice, then orange juice, middle, and then pineapple high. Okay? And I'm going to show you them side by side real quick. Vegetables, like I said, the potato, baked potato, broiled, fried, it don't matter. The best potato to eat, believe it or not, are red potatoes. If you're going to eat a potato, red potato is the healthier potato to eat. Okay? Let's see. French fries, canned or frozen corn and parsnips. Any process is not good. Okay? Winter squash, breads, most breads, white and whole grain, baguettes, bagels. Remember I told you I had to cut them out. Bread sticks, Kaiser rolls and dinner rolls. Okay. And then I have them all put together here where you can kind of look across and see, what I was telling you about the juices and stuff, where the apple juice was low, the orange juice was the medium or moderate, and then the pineapple was the high. That's an excellent example of showing you that. And then the bottom of the slide would be comparing the pastas and the grains and things, okay? Remember, you can always go back and look at these things. All right, so now I'm going to continue. And let's see, we basically kind of talked about glycemic index. Do understand that it is the blood sugar spikes that get us in trouble. How many spikes? How many times your blood sugar goes above 250 and stays there? Okay. Or if you, let me just say this. It is better, believe it or not, to frequently eat small meals or a little small something all day. Every 2 hours, eat something. It's the healthier thing to do. Because if you do that, then you don't let yourself get so hungry. That's the reason why if you really, really eat the way that food is served in the hospital, you get your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, you get your snack, right? And you get your bedtime snack. That's 4 meals. And usually the 4th meal, the bedtime snack, is before bedtime. So you're not eating after bedtime, technically, 9 o'clock, most people, okay? The average person. But sometimes, we do what we have to do because of life and our life situations. So I also want to tell you this about the glycemic index. There are factors that impact the glycemic index, and that is food preparation. Please remember that. Processing and cooking methods, like freezing or blending, all impact how a food affects your blood sugar, how it's prepared. So if all I ate was some whatever, but was it food that was frozen? Was it a frozen dinner, or was it fresh out the garden? We all can't eat fresh out the garden, but I love when you can get vegetables that were quickly frozen. And you look, there's certain brands like Green Giant or whatever, I think they pride themselves on freezing them, quickly, whatever. And anyway, just understand there's so many things we can do to regulate our blood sugars. And you got to understand how the glycemic index of a food, avoid over-treating your low blood sugar, whether you're diabetic or not, okay? Read labels. Please read labels. Read Gatorade, okay? Read a bottle of Gatorade. Gatorade, believe it or not, are for people who are working out and perspiring and sweating a lot. It's not for people just get you a bottle of Gatorade because you're not eating good, so just get you some Gatorade. You better read the back of that Gatorade, and you better look at I'm trying to pull it up now. You need to see how many calories, carbs, everything that's in Gatorade. It's intended for someone who is profusely sweating and working out. An athlete. And that IV Propel water and all of that stuff, all of that, you got to be careful with those things, okay? Let me see. We talked about the oats. I'm just glancing over my notes here. Let me see. Let me go back and you can, I left this up so you could look at it as I talk. The grains, for example, in oatmeal. So the traditional cooked steel oats, if you love oatmeal, they are the best to eat. In many cases, the grain is soaked and the outer part of the grain is removed. This makes it much easier to cook, but it has a much bigger impact on blood sugar levels. That's the quick oats. Quick oats are the ones that have that. They're soaked and the outer part of the grain is removed, and that's what makes it easier to cook and has a bigger impact on raising your blood sugar. Critically, the glycemic index doesn't account for how much of a food you eat or what you combine it with. Most of us don't eat 50 grams of white bread for lunch. We don't. We want a sandwich, that's got meat and cheese and lettuce and anything else we crave. And we should, first of all, take the time and do the research. If there's a certain food that you like, do the research and put it together and make you a good sandwich. Many times you can add extra lettuce and tomato to something, right? And have it more fulfilling, right? Put more, remember, there's no carbs in the meat. As long as you don't have processed meat and the meat is not high in sodium. If that's what it's going to take to fill you up. Think about it. So understanding glycemic index is only to help you know how to plan your meals. Doesn't say anything about this portion size. Now, I personally strongly recommend that if your insurance company, if your Medicare, whomever, pays for you to have a diabetic coach, and even these CGM, continuous glucose monitors that you purchase, if you read the fine print, many of them offer you a diabetic coach or a blood sugar or some type of blood sugar assistance with monitoring your blood sugar that can help you determine the best combination of foods to eat in a meal based on what you like. Okay? So me, myself, personally, like I said, I always use me as an example. Like I told you, I've noticed that my A1C was trending upward, like, 5.2, 5.4, 5.6, okay? Not diabetic yet, but still in the pre-diabetic range. I don't like it going up. So I want to share with you the thing that raises your A1C, and you figure out what you need to do for you. I know I figured out what I need to do. So the thing that raises your A1C the most, there are three things. Unbalanced diet. So it's not balanced. You're eating a high glycemic index, heavy lunch. Then you try to eat a little healthier. You might do moderate at dinner. And then you might do really good, or you may totally skip breakfast. And your engine isn't running at all if you skip breakfast. So when you do eat that lunch, you have no metabolism to burn off all those calories you just ate and all those carbs. Your engine isn't running. So it's best sometimes to keep your engine running. It's just like so you don't want your pipes to burst during the winter. So you leave it dripping, right? You got to eat a little teeny something to keep your engine running, so that at least your metabolism is working. It's like, okay, I'm ready for you now. Come on, go on and eat. I'm ready. I got my engine running. My motor's running. So the unbalanced diet, not eating balanced meals, not talking about the lunch meal. I'm talking about all day long. Try to balance it out. Pick it like a puzzle. Well, I had a fatty bread for lunch, so therefore I'm going to make sure I have more low glycemic vegetables to kind of counteract. Just pick and choose and figure out what's best, but it needs balance it out as much as possible. Now, one thing I know I messed up on is lack of exercise. My hemoglobin A1C is trending up. I realized it when I was preparing for this lecture. I have not exercised like I used to. Running on my treadmill, walking every day and running and lifting weights. These are things that, we getting ready to fix. We're going to fix. Because if I burn off those calories that I have not been burning off, it'll go back down to where it used to be. You got to search yourself and figure out what works for you. Now, stress. this is where we're going to end at. Talking about stress. Now, we know we can't avoid stress. All right? I'm going to let you look at me now, okay? We talked on last 3 weeks about the African American woman and stress and this, that, and the other. It's not just the African American woman. It's just you live, you're going to be stressed, or the potential. Or you're going to have stress come your way. Let me not speak that on anyone. You have to tailor the stress and figure out how to de-stress yourself, whether it's going to the gym and working out. I was reading somewhere today where this woman said she was knitting and crocheting, reading a book. You know, so many times I watch a good movie and laugh. Laughter is cathartic and healing. I have a husband that makes me laugh all the time. Thank you, Lord. Sometimes he make me want to cry though, okay? But for the I love him dearly. That was supposed to have been funny, but probably he won't think it's funny. But when we're stressed, understand that our cortisol level goes up. And we've talked about this many, many times. Your adrenal gland, the gland that sits on top of your kidneys, releases cortisol. It's our fight or flight, right? Cortisol gives us that boost of energy. Dog coming after you, and you just take off. If it wasn't for your adrenal gland releasing cortisol, ain't no way in the world you fall flat on your face. Yeah, you would. You wouldn't have to get up and go. It's good, but it shouldn't be high producing cortisol all the time. So the average daily stress, okay, a little, but when it's consistently, it's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to cause you to, so the way it works is this. Cortisol ends up causing weight gain, elevated blood pressure, and mood disorder. Okay? These are the 3 main things of elevated, increased cortisol. Well, how does that? Okay, so let's break it down. The cortisol itself. Now, if you've ever taken prednisone is a steroid. It's a synthetic, might as well say, a stress hormone, right? It has a lot of good benefits at times, but if you've ever been on prednisone and you got the munchies all the time. Most people, they're hyper, they're hungry all the time because they're on cortisol. They're on steroids, which mimics cortisol. And that's the reason why when a doctor says, I'm going to give you steroids and you're diabetic, you need to say, wait. My blood sugar is going to go up for 48, 72 hours. It's going to go up at least 2 to 3 days. That's a given. Okay? And during that process, it's going to increase your appetite. It's going to make you want to eat more. It's also going to trigger you to have cravings for sugary. Oh, yeah. That's when you want the chocolate. How many people want chocolate when they're stressed? It makes you endorphins. It makes you feel good. And fatty foods. Ooh, I just want me some hot fries. Stress. Riding through traffic, and I remember driving 4-5 days a week in a stressful environment. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. But what I had to learn to do, it was challenging, but I had to pack me a bag that had healthy stuff in it. Carrots. I got tired of gnawing on carrots though, but I'm just going to tell you. Sugarless chewing gum. I mean, there's just so many little things we have to do. And I keep gum in my car now because I'm getting hungry. I feel like my blood sugar's dropping, but I don't want to stop and get fast food. So I'll chew 2 pieces of gum until I make it home. And if it gets bitter, I'll spit it out, get me 2 more pieces until I can make it home. But many times I try to keep something healthy in my bag to eat. There are healthy snacks that you can have. They may not be the best tasting, but they're healthy. Even drinking lemon water, lemon with Splenda or Truvia or something like that. Drinking lemon water, because some people just don't like, water. And actually, I hadn't drank my water, but I've been trying to drink more water. I'm working on it, okay? I can't work on you if I don't work on me, all right? So also understand this. Increased cortisol from stress. It also slows down your metabolism. And it makes it easy to store fat. Particularly around your abdominal area. Yep. And a lot of women, they were talking about this menopause belly. Remember, hormones change during menopause. Hormones change as we age. And it's not as easy as it used to be because of hormones. Our body is changing. Stressors of life, time to retire, all of that, okay? And not having your ducks in a row is stressful. So think about the things that we talked about, all right? All these things make it harder for us to burn calories, and it leads to weight gain. And then if you get depressed because you gain weight, well, guess what? Depression adds to it, and there we go. Never-ending battle, never-ending cycle, trying to get in and out. All right, well, God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to go over just a little bit tonight. Remember, regulating my sugar, what I must understand, has nothing to do. Yes, I'm speaking specifically to diabetics, but remember, you do not have to be diabetic to know how to regulate your blood sugar, because your ultimate goal is to prevent diabetes. And guess what? The potential for diabetes increases as you age. And if you gain weight as you age, obesity increases the risk for diabetes. Yep, it does. It does. All right, God bless you. Anna Shaw Devlin, family nurse practitioner. This is our SHEM 2 night, and we thank the Lord for you. We pray. We will see you all on next week, which is the 4th. Wait. Yep, the 4th. And then we will see you on the 11th. And then after the 11th, Pastor Devlin and I will be on vacation. Whether or not we broadcast during our vacation, hey, I don't put nothing past my husband, okay? And I'm a willing vessel, so if he says this is what we're going to do, I go along with him. All right. God bless you. Have a blessed night, restful night's sleep. We thank you, and adios, amigo. He will see you on Sunday. All right.